Yeah, I mean, today I really wanted to talk about growth hacking and building a brand, but also kind of go through a lot of different tools as well as techniques to hopefully get you your first, initial email list build up, and also different ways to really gain a lot of exposure across a lot of different platforms. This is just meant to be like a quick, light run through. There's obviously a lot of tools, a lot of platforms out there. But at the kind of second half, I can open to like a Q&A. We can just probably talk about what you're working on and see if there's any ideas that I can come up with in terms of like what I know in terms of tools and other platforms that may or may not be able to, may be able to help you on your product service that you're trying to get launched on Kickstarter, Indiegogo. And then I can also talk about a few other products that I've helped launched as well. I only did a few products on Indiegogo, but in terms of like other outside of crowdfunding, I've helped other companies kind of launch their pre-list all the way up to just really growing their customer base after post-launch too, which is also very important even after the campaign. As you know, that's just only the beginning of the whole series for your company. So just want to give you a little bit quick background about myself. I am the founder of Growthly. We're a growth agency, outsourced CMO, outsourced growth team. And my background has been studying information architecture at the University of Washington. So I have a combination of computer science, sociology, psychology, UI, UX, and then just data structures. And what I did is I applied that learning into marketing as I kind of had my own startup while I was going through college and even before that. And I really found that to be much more applicable now, especially since marketing is becoming more data-driven and also technology and software-driven. And so it fit perfectly. And then now everybody's calling it growth hacking these days, which most marketers out there aren't necessarily technical, and they can't write their own scripts and scrapers, and so they're just playing off the buzzword lately. But I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. Then previous companies, I've worked from. I had a product that went through the Warner Bros. Accelerator, as well as worked on a marketing tech SaaS platform, and worked on various different agencies in the past. So today, just want to kind of go through the little rundown. We're going to talk about what is growth hacking, gain the growth hacking mindset, then identifying kind of like anatomy of a marketing funnel or for growth, and then just go through a whole bunch of different tools to hopefully kind of give you different ideas and great ways to automate and growth hack specific platforms, and then I'll open up to Q&A at the kind of other half of it. So let's talk about what is exactly the word growth hacking. It obviously is a word people throw out, and just want to go to the roots. It started with a man named Sean Ellis, who worked as part of the growth teams at all these different companies. And when he went to join these companies, it started out with I think Eventbrite and Qualaroo, which he founded. He found that there was this gap between marketers and developers. Obviously, people who are building are focused on building, and marketers are just focused on marketing. There's a huge intersection where it really requires kind of two different schools of thoughts, and of course we're taught to think just one way. And so he came up with the term growth hacking to really just explode growth by utilizing both technology and understanding marketing principles. But to me, and as growth hacking kind of evolved over time, it's really just opened up to just one more sector where it's about the data, the business applications and marketing, and then the software automation to actually run the tools and growth hacks that you really want to do. So it really expanded out. But the reality is, again, most people don't have those three skill sets. You got data scientists, you got engineers, and you got marketers. But there's always ways to compensate for areas you do lack. Let's say you don't have time to write scripts, then you can always outsource that or find other people or tools that exist. And then if you want to have a lot of data collections, there's already a lot of analytics tools out there and a lot of even other scrapers that exist out there. Then business and marketing sense, that's something you just have to either learn through books or just pick up through as you understand your own business and industry. But to me, what growth hacking is really more of a mindset. It's really about can you generate huge growth. Growth meaning installs, leads, email signups, pre-sales, etc. There's, that is determinant of your business. But whatever that is, usually you want to generate as much growth as possible with the least amount of energy or cost. So that's where the hacking part of growth hacking really comes about. It's just really how can you be very efficient in terms of marketing, be data driven, and really just explode growth. And it's really about connecting the dots between people, technology, and the value, whatever value prop that you're trying to provide. It's pretty much good marketing. It's still the same principles, except people wanted to put a little more trendy coin term around it. So really quick here, I just really would love to show one of the biggest growth hacks that I know, where Airbnb did a lot of kind of growth hacks to build up their initial customer base. It's not something that we can all necessarily repeat, but take a look at kind of the mindset. This is an extreme example because this one is a little bit on the gray black hat side, but they're worth 10 billion plus now. so they obviously stepped on toes. But what I hope for you to get, at least from this example, is just starting to see where just a marketer itself would not be able to pull a growth hack campaign that Airbnb was supposed to do, and a developer by itself, without understanding the business implications, would not be able to execute. So obviously the value and also the amount of user base just exploded over time. I'm pretty sure it's even more. This is up to 2013, right? So this is there's a couple more years of data and didn't plot out. It's probably way more up. But obviously when they first started, as with any startup, they had the chicken and egg issue where, in this case, they are a marketplace. And so they need to have both supply and demand for both people who wanted to rent houses and people who had houses to rent. And so what they did was they looked at platforms. And the biggest point for this is that a lot of people discounted Craigslist even years ago. They said it's a shady platform, it's only for drugs and other illegal stuff and just not good deals, right? And so the biggest lesson here is that a lot of people have their own biases against platforms, whether it be like Snapchat and Instagram that says only for millennials, Musical.ly, whatever. No, it's just, all it matters is whether your target demographic is using it or not. It doesn't matter whether you care about the platform or not. It doesn't care about if you're using it. If your customers are using it, then you should probably be on that platform. And I think people are starting to now becoming more rapidly evolved, especially since Snapchat got everybody to be more casual now. And then there's people are understanding now that with the death of Vine and new other platforms emerging, that they have to constantly be on the forefront now. Otherwise, they're going to go extinct and they can't depend on one single platform anymore. So Craigslist is a really good example where a lot of people discounted Craigslist, but Airbnb found great success on Craigslist by being able to look at that there is an existing marketplace there where people wanted to rent houses and also rent houses and people who wanted to go on vacations. And so what they did was they just manually went to the website first and found that people were listing on there, and then they just send a few messages out to the homeowners and say, hey, would you love to list your listing on Airbnb? But the little trick in the copy is it's a little hard to see, but they said, I increased my average listing I earned $500 more by going on Airbnb instead of Craigslist. And so they made a little hook or a lie in a sense. Maybe the average is true or not, but they definitely just started messaging a ton of people on Craigslist and saying that, giving them a promise that they can list a ton of listings. And then people started coming to the platform. But once they figured out that that was happening, then they realized that they can essentially automate it and scale. And so they just programmatically mimicked user behavior. Craigslist has no API, and so they have to use usability tools that just do website automation testing, except weaponize it. and to do externally for somebody else's website. And then that's what they did. They started pushing out listings and getting people traffic to come to their site, and then reverse engineer by also contacting the listings of other homeowners to then come to the website. So now they're drawing both sides, where they would push the ads out, then they bring people in, and then every ad they have, even on the Airbnb platform, they'll make another listing again back onto that. So it's just like constantly regenerating more leads and traffic. But what you're getting here is an idea that this now is becoming a more self-fulfilling growth engine. A lot of funnels that we'll try to make will try to mimic that. That's like the end game goal, is to try to get it to constantly compound and just keep building. And once it hits like a certain amount of mass, it's just, now you have a brand and a list and a following that you really can keep stacking and growing from. And just again, as an example, you can go and find the emails. Back then it was not encrypted, but you can just go crazy and just message people. Now it's much more harder. This is an example message, and then they just scaled it out to all the, worldwide. And they did it fast, because it was, the timing was the essence, and essentially before Craigslist caught up. But again, this is just an extreme example, but this just again shows the combination where they had the right. They did it first manually as a business implication and test. They understood that people were both sides of the markets were there, and then they used software, whether they outsourced it or not. I think they had it in-house. I mean, they're from YC, and then they just scaled that up and collected all the data which was coming in. So that's an example of just Airbnb. Any questions so far in terms of what Airbnb did? No. We can come back to it if so. So yeah, that's again is an extreme example, but now I just want to get to more like the fundamentals of growth, and then there's going to be tools and different techniques and different things that are just like good for initial growth hacking, and then if you want to get some more advanced stuff, we can chat about it too. We'll give you some tactics that are much more technical and much more of a challenge. I like always to say the best growth hacks is the one that nobody talks about, because the moment you share it out and a lot of people are misusing it, and then it's going to close up, and then it's not a growth hack anymore. It just becomes a dead growth hack. At that point, somebody writes an ebook and sells it, which is true. But yeah, I wanted to go down to kind of the anatomy and thinking about the marketing funnel, and just thinking about growth hacks, which I talked about with Airbnb, and understanding the difference between growth, actual growth, and then growth hacks. So as you know, you go out and blast whatever growth hack out there, then you're gonna get huge spikes. Let's say you get listed on Product Hunt, you go listed on Reddit, you go viral. That's only gonna last for so long, right? And that's where you're gonna see spikes. But what you really need to start thinking about is sustainability and retention, and building up actual followers, try to capture as much people as possible, but keep compounding and building off of that, and still push your way more consistently straight throughout. And let the growth hacks understand that the growth hacks are great for explosions. Growth hacks are great to really give you those spikes, but thinking long term will pay off, because the combination of both, as you can see, is just really going to push you. You're really going to harness growth hacks and then really keep leaning up for growth. And usually for growth, it's thinking of it from a multi-channel strategy, especially now. There's so many different platforms out there. Obviously, you want to pick the best one to start first, but you have to understand now that everything is a battle for attention. Like, some people are heavily on Instagram, some people are on Facebook. Sometimes they just switch every different day, or user behavior is so weird now, and everybody's becoming so fragmented. It's not easy to become on multiple channels and multiple platforms, but I'll talk about kind of ways I've been able to also growth hack on multiple platforms. But what you really want to think about is not necessarily like the platform itself, like Snapchat and like Instagram stories now, and then Facebook is going to copy like a very similar, they're going to have a Snapchat clone, right? Stop focusing on the platform itself, stop focusing on the users per se on there. All you need to care about in terms of those social networks or any other platform is what is the medium in terms of like content or creation itself. And if you figure that out, that process out, then it doesn't matter the platform. And so when I first started out, let's say Snapchat, I didn't know anything about Snapchat, and I didn't have any traction on Snapchat, but it didn't really matter to me because I was able to learn how to take a video camera to myself and record myself, create videos, and then Instagram stories came out, so then my skill set now is transferable to Instagram stories, and then I can also upload all those stories into YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, and so now my content creation is multiplied. And it's not me even just focusing on like the platform itself. It's like, oh, I'm trying to like learn Snapchat and everything. Like, it is just figuring out the content creation first. And again, it happens to like any type of medium. If you write a blog, then you can push it to Medium. You can push it to LinkedIn posts, Facebook notes if that's going to explode, or Facebook groups. And again, with content creation, image creation, if you can figure out the processes to just create a nice image for like quotes or like infographics, using various tools, which I'll outline a little bit later, then you can use that for every single platform, and you should push it out to as much platforms as you can. And from just talking from multi-channel strategies too, user behavior is just really weird. Sometimes a piece of content just explodes on Twitter for me, and then I take that same content, doesn't do anything for Facebook. But another day, sometimes Facebook resonates very well. And it's just, you know, it just depends on the audience. Sometimes the audience is on there, sometimes they're not there on that same day. But had I not pushed a 1-minute video to Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, then I would not have known. And now I'm like increasing my reach all over the place. So just, you know, I want to just drill that inside your head. Obviously, it's not easy to maintain multiple platforms, but pick like the probably like top 2 or 3 that might be relevant to you, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, and really just, you know, if you have the apps right next to each other on your phone, then you can, it's just quick uploads on both platforms, copy and paste the description. It's just making it a habit that is a challenge for people just starting out, creating multiple channels for growth. And again, it's just like growth is just summation of all the parts. But let's go through kind of just the marketing funnel now. And we'll send you slides too, since it's a little bit hard to see. But we'll start from the very top, which is just exposure. And it leads all the way down to considerations, all the way down to sales and conversions. Then after that, it's really about, you know, maintaining those customers, and then trying to get them to refer and multiply people so that they can actually become repeat customers that will bring more customers that will come back to the funnel. So you're really trying to build a kind of a whole wheel that just fulfills itself. And you know, most of us, when we think about growth hacking and when we think of a startup, we always think at the very top, which, you know, it makes sense. Everybody wants more customers coming in the door. That, of course, is the most important. You always need the most quantity of people to come at the very top, because that's going to affect the whole funnel numbers coming down, right? In terms of if you don't have enough customers acquired, email signups, then only a small percentage will actually be for sales and pre-orders. You really got to get that top of the funnel up. And so in terms of acquisition and exposure, we always think of the very top side. Discovery, that's when people are starting to really get a little bit, they'll start reading more information. So that's considered probably people who are reading more of the description or actually landing on your website. And then now if they're really trying to consider, they sign up with an email, trying to learn more. That's the consideration stage. Then the conversion stage is actually the sale. And the goal is to always try to get people to accelerate or move down the funnel as much as possible. Some people get stuck throughout. Some people just put your email and they're like, I'm considering it. And then they don't purchase. Well, you have to keep trying to move them through the funnel somehow. But if you also don't have, let's say, a consideration stage, you don't capture email and you're trying to quick jump to conversion, well, what if that person doesn't want to buy today, or they're saving money elsewhere? They like to consider your product, but you didn't give them an option to consider, then you'll never get them, and it's just like you're forcing them to either convert or not, and you don't have a funnel at that point. It's just straight trying to sell somebody. So, I think that's important to identify all those different parts, especially for the lifetime of your customers. And then the very bottom two is customer service, right? Once you actually convert a customer, what are you doing to take care of them post-conversion? And that's very important, because then that will help you start building for retention, for increasing lifetime value, repeat customers. And then after that, you really want to increase your net promoter score, or just like your, essentially people's happiness for them to refer. But again, that's way later down once your product is a little bit more further along. But it's really not that further along than you think, because if you really can get customers, or even your 10 customers, right, to your initial customers to really be so happy with your product, who knows, one of them might tell one other friend, then you start multiplying. And for me, I'll give you some use case examples. When we just kind of launched my own Snapchat brand, I only had 10 impressions, grew up to like 15 impressions. One of those impressions happens to be a journalist. He listed me on medium.com, got 600 follows in the next day, right? That type of explosion. And so really taking care of those initial impressions is very important in the early stages, especially because, one, I think it's great because, especially if you survey those customers, like getting data is the most important factor in terms of your initial launch. We want to figure out like what made them convert, who they are, really trying to identify the demographic of people who are initially signing up, and seeing if there's any patterns or ways that you might be able to identify people that you never thought would have bought your product, and you just discounted them a long time ago, or you just never thought about them, but there's actual potential there, and then that might inform your marketing strategy. Another company that we've helped, for example, they made like startup entrepreneur t-shirts, and so they were targeting Silicon Valley, New York, LA, but their biggest customers were actually kind of more like the middle of the states, the non-technical, like non-Silicon Valley startups, the people who are actually the more SMBs and the more independent solo entrepreneurs, not the tech startups. They never knew that until they started surveying, and then that's when they doubled down, and then the sales started going through the roof. But this is because they made like an assumption that, oh, I made a startup t-shirt, that it's only going to be for startups. Had they not looked at the data, actual customers purchasing, and not actually say, hey, there's somebody here that's important to consider, then they would have not probably exploded in terms of the sales. And that drives most of probably like 80% of their sales now, is not the tech market. And then they shifted their whole launch for that. So yeah, basically, what I want to really identify is, all the different channels are at the very top. There's different ways to have acquisition or exposure. And you're trying to funnel customers down. The great analogy, which I was talking about earlier, was just retention, right? If you don't focus on retention early on, it literally is this analogy here. It's a leaking bucket, right? Because let's say you spend so much money getting PR and product energy, money, whatever, trying to get blasted out. And sure, you get a ton of people exposure, but then you didn't figure out email captures. You didn't think about maintaining those customers. Then guess what? Those emails will go cold. All that energy you spent at the very top for exposure could be for waste, because then now you're essentially leaking your whole funnel. And what if you didn't have any capture, or your website landing page just isn't converting? You just slammed so much traffic, you just wasted all that effort. And so this is like an analogy that I always like to compare. And the first an immediate funnel for any startup or even business is obviously the landing page of your website. And so what I really wanted to do is kind of highlight a few different examples of funnels that I've helped build, highlight different elements of these landing pages, and that will hopefully give you an idea on really how to maximize conversions and giving considerations captures. So a landing page, what is a little bit different than an actual website is that it doesn't really give you a lot of options. The only option for you is to either sign up, email sign up, or convert. The reason why landing pages are much more effective is that it's just much more focused in the sense that there's not a lot of distractions. I've seen a lot of startups or a lot of even e-commerce websites. There's so much options to select. And if you are like promoting your website on Facebook, you're promoting on another platform, on Snapchat, people don't really have that much time to click through everything else. So this is your first impression chance, and you're trying to close somebody as fast as possible to get them to do something on your landing page. And so usually when you do build a landing page, you don't want to have multiple nav links unless your product is very complex and you need to really like highlight different parts of it, but you still can highlight that in your landing page. Usually for landing pages, you have like a nice big header on the top that just really gets to the point. Try not to put like some crazy buzzwordy words, just really get to the point that a customer can just understand what it is, as immediately when they land on your page, right? If your product is, just like smart glasses, then, just like easy way to capture on your glasses or something, like, I don't know, like there's different ways and variations you can play off that. But don't say like, we're here to change the world and revolutionize. It's like, okay, like you could do that, but somebody's quick, they just need to get to the point. Like you can highlight the words a little bit, but be quick. Then at the very top, put a call to action, because if somebody gets it and you put your product at the very top too, and they just want to convert, don't let them convert. But if they don't, then that's where your funnel will start having multiple conversions and ways to give them chances, because now once they're scrolling down, now this is the consideration stage of the funnel, where they said, oh, the headline caught me, I didn't bounce and leave the website yet, but I'm still not sold. So at this point, this is where you have to really get your point across. And so for this company, their electric vehicle charging unit, they built like a EV as a service, charging as a service, so you can just rent out and they'll maintain it for you for apartments. And so for them, they had the big headlines, but then they just had like quick little 3 value props, like the highlights, and then they went straight to kind of a video. Video is very strong, allows them to have a personality, somebody to come up and introduce the product, but also it's much more animated and catches people's attention. So if people don't get what they do, then they're the quick value props is there to say, we're dedicated stations here to help increase the lifetime value in a much more affordable EV solution. By the way, how it works, let's watch the video. So then I quickly get the point across that this is what it can provide value to me as a consumer. Why should I care as a customer? That's where the value props come in. Besides describing your product, it's like they're giving them a reason. So we had the call to action to top, the value adds, videos. Videos can work on the very top too. You can put the video player up there. In this case, they just didn't decide to do that. But I do recommend probably doing both. Put a video button, play button on the top. I think that's an expected behavior. And then it's a little cut off, but they'll also put another call to action on the very bottom there too. Just because if somebody doesn't scroll all the way up, capture. Some people will also put a call to action right here, and then they know still that some people still will not buy. Then they'll add testimonials at the very bottom, like the real hard sells, like real social proof, or like examples, pictures, galleries, blog posts. Those will be like another 3rd tier at the very bottom, and then they'll do another conversion at the very bottom. Again, it's just giving people, are you sold yet? No? Okay, let me convince you. Conversion, call to action. Are you sold yet? No? Okay, let's really try to like work you. And then at the very bottom, some people just like throw like deals and like you think those like kind of scammy looking squeeze pages don't work, but they have the data. People have looked at the data. They got it down to science. It's just multi-step conversions, ways to convert, and different ways of persuasion to go through. And so if you're trying to build your initial funnel, here are some tools to really just go and get a landing page up running, an email system to capture those emails, and then ways to get people to come back is through retargeted ads. And retargeted ads is essentially, when you go on Amazon or you go on eBay, you go on a product or service, you look at, let's say, a water ball, you go back to Facebook, that water ball is following you everywhere. They're just cooking you. And so you can add a pixel, same thing, that will cookie every single user that comes to your website, and then you can run an ad to those customers that previously went on your website but didn't buy. The logic behind that is that they're somebody who's been exposed to your brand and website are most likely or they already know your product and service. And so at that point, they're more likely to click again. And so what people have done in terms of retargeted ads is they'll build one landing page that is just like the big open intro landing page, like EverCharge. Then they'll retarget cookie somebody, and they know that if you came to this landing page and you didn't convert, we didn't do hard enough sell on this page. So then what they'll do with the retargeted is point a different landing page that is hard sell. Whether that means give you a free ebook, free consultation, a webinar, like let's talk right now, or like give you a coupon, like another call to action that's not the same thing as this landing page, because somebody's already been exposed, they didn't convert, so then let's try to get them somewhere else. And so that's where the retarget cookie really comes into play. And because somebody is most likely able to click again, and they're most likely to convert, then you should only be paying CPM, pay-per-view, not pay-per-click, because clicks are going to go off, most likely going to be, they're most likely going to click, and so you should be paying per view. And since you're only showing it to all your existing users, there's not as much people to expose, so you're not paying as much in terms of that. So that's where the logic of the retarget pixels. And then once you install the pixel, which if you just literally Google or search Facebook pixel, it's just a little JavaScript code. You add it to the header of your landing page or website, every single page that you want, and it'll just cookie all the users. Then if you really want to run an ad to those people, when you go in Facebook ads, when you're choosing the demographic of people you want to target, you can just choose the pixel audience to target. So they made it very, very easy for you to re-engage your audiences. MailChimp I chose as an email system because it's free to start, $10 to the initial paying plan. It's the fastest way to get going. It's the most reliable. Sometimes the emails will go to promotion tab for people, but if you really just want to launch quickly, you can always export and import your emails easily. I think MailChimp is still very good to just get going. We'll talk about a little bit more advanced email tools, but they're utilized more so for sales. But this stack is what I personally use for a lot of my email landing pages. I'm going to go highlight this really quick. Growth for different stages of your launch looks different. I think it's some of it's very obvious for most, but I just want to kind of recap this. If you are in the idea stage, your goal isn't to get 1 million users. Your goal is to validate your idea and to get that data to inform your MVP, right? A lot of people think they have the best idea. They want to go and launch 1 million followers. It's just 1 million users. It's just going to crush their app. So it's not ideal to get so excited to think about growth hacks if you're still in the early stage. It is building up to the MVP stage. When you have the MVP stage, that's when you said, okay, well, are we ready to launch? Let's try to explode growth, and then to really stress test our website, our product production, etc. And then launch, you're just trying to go and sell as much possible, do the big raise, and continue on from there. And so it's important because as a startup, and even just marketers in general or entrepreneurs, we get so excited with growth that we forget that it means different in different stages. And I kind of just build a chart. Again, idea stage, you're really there to validate your idea. So then your focus should be on interviews, collecting data, surveys. Should then inform your MVP, and this constant back and forth, inform your product and your build. And then once you have the MVP built, it still doesn't mean it's validated, because your sample set might be so small, and so you're still trying to find that product market fit. And so that is through retention of the customers. Can you really retain the customers you brought in on board? Is it sticky? Can you get more customers to refer? Then that's when you start feeling that out. And once you hit that, then that's going to start pushing to the launch stage. And at that point, that's when you hit acceleration on growth. You do the big growth hacks. You double down on tests and experiments, and you go multi-channel, multi-growth. And so, like a book that I like to always recommend to people is a book called Traction. And the cool thing about this book, Traction, is that it identifies every single channel out there, from old school media to existing media. Obviously, I don't think it listed VR or like AR, mixed reality yet, or anything else. But it has like the staples. It talks about PR, guerrilla marketing, newspapers, social channels, talks, conferences. Then it has interviews of people talking about their experiences of all those different channels. What's important is that if you don't have a traditional marketing, and even if you do have a marketing background, just understanding the landscape of all the different avenues you can think of. Just don't think about Facebook that exists out there. There's just so many platforms out there and so many ways to get traction. The Traction book is just a great way to highlight and just identify. It just really opens your eyes. The only thing that this Traction book doesn't do, though, it just doesn't give you the deep round tactics. But once you start thinking about the channels, then that's when you can start going out pursuing those platforms. And a big point that I also would like to make is that it's easy to get addicted with a lot of articles for growth hacking, tools, etc. The marketing tech landscape, there's thousands of tools, and it's not stopping. There's so much SaaS tools and whatnot. And most marketers, including myself and other people, we love to get traffic. And so what I mean by that is we'll write, you've seen it before, those BuzzFeed style business articles that said, how this kid made $100,000 in 10 days through some viral thing, and like it's so clickbaity, but like we're so addicted to that. And I've seen it so much in like LinkedIn, Medium, like Facebook, right? It's like that whole, you can get caught up in that noise. And so my point is that don't think about that. Don't go and you could go out and sit out on a lot of websites and just constantly get that in, but you're gonna get in a constant cycle where just like you're constantly addicted. Instead, go and figure out the platforms of traction that you wanna go work with. So if you make a decision, go on Snapchat, live streaming, YouTube, Groupon or something like that. Then once you identify the platforms, then you go pursue the tools and growth hacks. But even not even that, just go identify, like if you want to grow your followers, then you go search specifically Snapchat, how to grow followers, if that makes sense. It's not like, Snapchat growth. Again, there's so many different ways to go about it, and some people have all the different takes. Find the things that you need to grow, and then work on that. Like landing page copy, then go find landing page copy, email copy examples, then you go find it, right? as you're essentially now reverse engineering the way that you're going about that, and it's much more cleaner, and you'll get your answers, and you're essentially going to build your whole funnel faster because you're not constantly sitting there trying to click through and go on the little rabbit holes and tangents. And I've been there and done that for so many years, so just giving that little advice. So let's get into the next section now, where just jump starting into growth. A lot of different tactics. A lot of them initially are just like what I call like hand-to-hand combat, ground and pound. Like just go out on these platforms and just spend your time really generating the growth. The way to think about it again is to think of each platform as a different channel, different audiences. And some of these are like the best and easy way to at least initially get your exposure. And then we'll talk about how to really automate that and scale that at the later hand. But the tactics here are going to be starting out with manual, just to show you the flow. And then there's ways to scale that up. We'll go down the list of different platforms. Again, I only see these as a playground for data and audience. And so LinkedIn, we all know LinkedIn. A lot of us hate it. But again, it's the thing about to remind yourself of LinkedIn is that you still probably have your LinkedIn profile up. You probably still have it linked to your email. And LinkedIn is very good at spamming you in your email inbox. Like LinkedIn, like if somebody gets endorsed and gets a new job, you're probably going to get an email from, and if somebody messages you, you're probably going to get an email inbox. So that behavior is still true to this day. So because of that, that means you can get somebody else's inbox on LinkedIn if you can connect or message them, if that makes sense. So just because they're not active on LinkedIn, which most of us aren't active on LinkedIn, that doesn't mean you can't still get to that person. We still have an account active, and your decision maker or your target audience might still be there. And so it's always good to still think about this. And this is true for most other platforms. Twitter, most people have their notifications on. They'll get a message or email if you message them out, tweet at them, etc. So it's been proven and works very effectively. Go to platforms like LinkedIn. You're trying to find a CMO, or you're trying to find a decision maker, your target customers. This is a great way for B2B and enterprise, or just B2B audiences or decision makers. Then go down the list. You type in CEO, you find all the CEOs. If you pay for Sales Navigator, it's going to open up the platform much more, and you can message more people. But you can go get away with the freebies too by just going out connecting with people. Of course, again, you might say connecting with random people is aggressive. People might not like it, but then I tell you, do you want to grow or you do not want to grow? Like you're going to get no exposure, or you're going to try to get exposure to the right decision makers. If your profile looks interesting and you know that you're a target demo, then go out and connect with people. You'd be surprised by the people who are open. There's people who have open connections also available on LinkedIn. And this is now becoming trending true for Facebook now too. People are treating Facebook now heavily like LinkedIn because people hate LinkedIn. And I'm seeing a new trend that just started happening this year. People are opening up like their Facebooks, joining Facebook groups, joining industry groups. And they don't care about, like, people intertwine their personal and professional now. And if that helps you still get your target audience and decision makers, that's a great option. For me, I'm playing that game too. I am going to be trying to get 5,000 like followers on friends on Facebook. The reason being is that I'm going out connecting with people in industry or who are doing something interesting. And we know that Facebook pages reach collapse. You have to pay to play to get your Facebook post exposure, but your personal page is still strong. And so if I have 5,000 influencers or people in the startup industry, and I post something out, it's going to most likely hit the right people. And the more people that like it, it's just going to explode on the algorithm, on the feed. This is true for Facebook and LinkedIn. And it's really just playing off the network and algorithms now, since the algorithm is so nasty. It's about exposure. Instagram's the same thing. If you get a lot of high-level people liking, then you'll get on the Discover feed. And so it is a new behavior to think about, especially for those who still treat Facebook for personal. If you're uncomfortable, then create a business, like a separate account. But if you don't care, or you want to switch gears, then you start curating yourself in the case that you want to keep yourself like your private life more private. Like, I don't post everything that I do on my Facebook page anymore. Like, it's a curated version of myself, but I'm reaping the benefits from doing that. And so, like, that's the start. It's just a switch in thought. A lot of us used to not think that it's okay to connect with people on these platforms. Obviously, Twitter is okay. You can follow people. My opinion about Twitter is that Twitter is stagnating, but again, there's still people who have a Twitter account on there. They're open to tweets. It's a public inbox. You treat it like a public inbox. But the cool thing about Twitter is that it is you can search for people based on location and keywords. And the power of this is that, let's say you want to query CEOs or skaters, or you want to do fashion bloggers. There's a really cool tool called Audience, AUDIENSE. It's a SaaS tool, probably costs like $20 a month. They have a free trial. But here's a cool thing about Audience. You can query all of Twitter. So I type in designer or developer, and I can put in designer Los Angeles. Then it will spit out the whole list of everybody on Twitter. They have Firehose access API data. Then I can go and click and follow them if I want to. But the cool thing though now is that I could export this into a CSV or Excel file. So what can you do with that? You can run ads only to those people if you want, or just straight up do manual. If you know that you're trying to target influencers, you can find based on their, I don't know how they calculate influence, but you can find based on how much followers they have, create a range. You can find the top influencers, how much following, list, blah, 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 their account age, how many tweets per day. Like, you can narrow it down by location and all those different parameters. And so if you're going for target influencers or high value people, then manual outreaches on Twitter to that list is very, very, like, you want to be genuine and you want to establish relationships. But if you're trying to do it en masse, you can run ads, or you can try to just like automate or like click through and like follow and engage those people.
What information will you be getting from the CSV basically?
Their full profile.
Okay.
Yeah, so their name, location, I think they're doing gender based on name. Like they're just running it through a database so that you can filter by gender too. But yeah, you should be getting handle, display name, location, like everything that you can get like displayed. You should be able to get that data.
Okay, and use Twitter ads to basically.
Yeah, focus on that, on those. This won't find people who are tweeting out. So let's say if somebody's tweeting about, you know, water bottle or like a specific subject, which sometimes that's, you know, that's probably the best case to find people, but to get that type of access requires like enterprise grade Firehose, and it's very, very expensive. There's ways to do it, but I don't share it because it's just not reasonable for a startup. It's really for governments and like people trying to track stuff down, or like really big enterprises trying to like collect that data for user behavior and all that stuff. Twitter hasn't made it easy for everybody else to tap into that data or to be able to utilize it. Your best case is to run ads and try to find people who are tweeting out and just run ads to that. But here you can really narrow down the parameters, weed out any like international or like other countries that you may or not be targeting. That's up to you in terms of that. The cool thing about this is that it works on Instagram too. So you can query Instagram.
Audience?
Yeah, audience, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the only thing though is that I don't think you can run ads to I don't think you can run ads to people on the CSV for Instagram. So, I mean, they used to, right? Facebook used to allow that, but people like growth hackers just did some very bad stuff with it. If you have a developer or you want to outsource it, it is possible to take Twitter handles and run it through an API called fullcontact.com. Full Contact is, how do you describe that company? They collect, they're just a big data mining company, a social data mining company. Like if you're out publicly on social networks, they probably scraped you and try to connect the dots. What I mean by that is you can upload Twitter handles onto the API and it might spit you back an email address or a Facebook page or a website. So it's like reverse, like you put in a partial data, it might be potential. Of course, you're not gonna get 100% of the list, but 10%, 20%, 30% of your target demo, that's worth it. The beauty about emails is you can do so much with emails. Like Facebook, I think, will take emails still. Snapchat's going to open that up soon. There's people who will also email those people directly. That's going to be your call. Obviously, cold emailing is not necessarily always advisable, but the people that have been very crafty with it have said, hey, love your tweet about this, or love your tweet in general. So it's fair game, and that their data, it's fair game. I love your tweet, love to chat about this content.
One of my friend's company back in India was just acquired by Full Contact, which is called Founders. They do the same.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
They have similar to like Rapporteur, and they do the same thing. If you just
put in partials and then it spits out.
And you can give all the give the email ID.
Yeah, which is awesome. So then now it's just like, again, like playing two different tools now to growth hack. It's all data, right? Now you're just trying to like enrich the data from one tool to another to really blow it up, and then use that that opens up for more channels and platforms for you to grow, which is pretty cool.
In case of hardware equipment, how do you use this tool?
Yeah, so I mean, like, what's your product?
3D cameras.
3D cameras. Is it for outdoor people, like construction?
Construction,
Yeah. So in this case, so you can. There's one more use case I forgot to highlight that you can use Audience for is you can type in somebody else's Twitter handle and you can see all their followers too. So let's say I'm just like throwing something like an architect magazine,
Right.
or a construction magazine, or like an engineering or like material sourcing Twitter account. Maybe it only has 1,000 people, but it's very like targeted. Then you can run it through Audience. Then it'll show you the same exact list and you can export it. Then you know that just because they didn't have engineering or like architect or construction in their profile, but they still followed that page, and it's a very targeted page, then you know that they are like, without them putting in the profile, that they're your target demo. Does that make sense? And so you can go out and target and growth hack those people, essentially. And so there's different ways to go about it. Like if you're looking for influencers, you just change the dial and look for influencers. So you type in trying to find the biggest pages or publications. Then you scrape all that into a nice CSV list. Then you do outreach and tweet at them, or trying to find their email, or go to the website. People have used this for Instagram, trying to find like mom bloggers. They type in mom or blogger, boom, gets a list, and then they do outreaches for the influencers, and then that will get them more explosive growth for those guys' networks. Or again, it's just like going direct. Or you can use this for investors too. You type in VC, you'll find every single VC, or angel as well too. So.
In terms of Full Contact, is that an API, or they have a web tool or platform? Or
No, it's API.
It's API.
Yeah, I wish it's like Twilio. Like no, they don't have a open interface for you to just plug and play. People that build on top of it, they just white label it, and then and sell it. So Full Contact is not, unfortunately.
So what does outreach mean? mean exactly? It's
I'll go with a tool that later on where you can automate auto following and engagements. It doesn't work on every single platform though, but you literally could upload a list like that, or you go out and outsource a script to go and do that type of engagements. The other way is just tweet at those people. Very aggressive, but very direct. You'll get a lot of results if you're playing the quantity game from that. And then if not, then it's just trying to go to the website. You can get their website from this list too, and try to find their contact information. I have, again, like another growth hack that one of my friends does is he'll go to these lists, find websites, and then he has another separate application that will crawl each website and try to find all their social media profiles, and then try to find their emails and phone numbers, and then it will also try to find their contact us page, and if they have a submit button, his bot will also submit a message. So like it's that level deep, and if it's not, then he'll try to find your blog, and then find your blog comment section, right? He's crawling through. So like there's different ways to do that. That's super like gray black hat, but he's getting a lot of traction. but now it's just like there's so many different ways to outreach to that person. And let's say you identify this influencer or just a person on Twitter, and you tweet at them, they don't respond, then you know that person's name, then you can find them on LinkedIn or you find them on Facebook, right? Like you're using this data set to jump off of that and try to really just not, because you already know that this person is targeted, then play off of that. So you can do emails, ads, you can do it all actually, and then just really be in their face, massive exposure, just trying to ping them. So there's different ways to go about that for outreach.
all just to have them reach your website?
It could be, or strike a conversation. Like if you don't put any link and you're just trying to build a relationship, trying to get their email, then you can do, like, it depends on the use case, right? If you're just trying to build a relationship versus sales. If you're doing sales, then yeah, you should try to get them directly to your website or landing page.
We're not just talking about getting massive users. We're trying to find, we can also use it to find the quality people
Yeah.
to get in touch with.
Yeah. Again, it's just you're at the mercy of whether that person puts that title in their profile or that has it in their name or whatever. But that still gives you a pretty good data set to go after. Audience has the option for you to, it'll spit out the tweets as I talked about, like people who don't have anything in their profile but they're tweeting about a subject. It just costs like 100 or 200 per couple thousand tweets. So it's very powerful but expensive, again, like in terms of quantity. If that is worth it for you, again, that's something that I'm not saying it might be worth it for you, right? If you're doing something very niche, or you want to really target somebody that is all the people that are tweeting out, for in this case, like I don't know, like a conference, industry conference, that that those are all industry people and they're worth a lot. Then yeah, the 100, 200, 300, 400 bucks to get all those tweets, totally worth it. Or again, if you want to go kind of cheap and free, then you would just first, then you just outsource that, or if you can code it, write a Python script that will go on Twitter, manually type in the search key result with the parameters and scrape for you. Like that's the free way, obviously, if you don't want to pay. Don't go through the API, it's just gonna get whacked and banned. You just have to go through, you have to just simulate a Chrome browser. Does anybody really want to do that? Like I can tell you what, you can write it down if you want. If you really want to simulate a Chrome browser, you use Chromium. Yeah, Chromium, which is a Chrome simulator. And then, what else do we use? We've done things like Phantom.js too, but that usually gets blocked. Chromium WebDriver is what Chromium WebDriver is usually what we'll build off of, because what it does is it literally just simulates Chrome. The downfall is that it's Chrome. What I mean by that is it eats a lot of RAM. So if you really want to scale, which, there's some scripts that I have. I bought 16 core, 64 gigabyte server, server rack. AWS, like that would cost so much to do. You just buy like a used server rack for $1,000 on eBay. Like if you really want to do that type of scraping, because you're literally opening up Chrome every single time. And if you are doing multiple instances, then you have to have proxies. If you want a good proxy provider, one of them is called SSL proxy, like the security SSL proxies. Once you go on that site, you realize what kind of websites you can like crawl, because they have dedicated proxies to specific channels. They have a Ticketmaster proxy. They're only going to let tunnel you for Ticketmaster. You have Instagram only, you have Craigslist only, then you have generic ones. The ones that you want to buy, if you're doing general scrapes, they're called public proxies. That means multiple people share it. They don't care if it really gets banned on multiple platforms. Public proxies is used by many people. But if you want a clean proxy that's only given to you and that number is just clean, private proxies, they're obviously premium. You only use that if you're doing you're going for high quality actions. If you're doing mass scrapes, like you're trying to hit Google and do a lot of scrapes and all that stuff, and that's when you use public proxies at mass. So Craigslist already talked about, but again, like each section for growth, you got business owners on the job section. They're not scammers, and unless they want to pay, scammers want to pay $30 an ad for jobs. Like, good luck. Like, that business owners and decision makers are on there, SMBs or just like managers, hiring managers. So, perfect place to go. And then consumers, they're on there for sales. But again, Craigslist made it very hard for you to do mass messaging. They encrypt your email address so you can't really see. And they scan and sniff your whole email so that they try to detect a ton of links and all that stuff too. So you really don't want to put too many links if you're doing a lot of mass outreach, and you want to just manually reach out unless you write a script that does Mad Libs, which you could do too. But that's, again, it's just like if you're going to ever try to do a growth hack, pretend to be a user, and if you want to try to fool a system, throw a variable, like throw go through the thesaurus, like different variations of words. That's like really growth hacking stuff there. Meetup.com, perfect place for consumers as well as industry people. Why? Because they localize groups for you, and it's niche and topic specific. And so you want to find all 3D printers, guys who are enthusiasts, or VR, or like dog walkers, or pug lovers, or like there's so many groups, right? It depends on your tool or app. Meetup.com is great for that because you can start jumping into different cities, right? And the cool thing is, I don't have a screenshot for it, is that you click members, it's going to give you the whole members list. And guess what? You can also message people if you join the group. And the cool thing is, most growth hackers and marketers haven't hit it hard yet. So I'll keep it we'll keep it here. But nobody's really looking here. And so I have a friend. He doesn't write any scripts. He just has virtual assistants going to all the big meetup groups and just messaging people. Then what he's doing is, he knows these people are most likely, they love groups, they love the topic. So then he's pushing them all to a Facebook group. And so he said, hey, I saw you love VR. We have this big VR community. You should join. People join. Like, they get an email, they join. And then now he can just run marketing all day long on the Facebook page. He can also do 2 links, one to convert on the website, and then 1 invitation to join the community. There's different ways to go about it. But perfect place to get free traffic and targeted traffic. Groupon might not be applicable to many of you guys, but the whole idea is that business owners are on here. You know that they're getting ripped off personally. Like, business on here are getting ripped off by Groupon itself, but they just need the deal flow. But the whole point, though, is that you can go to them in person and contact them because you know that they're open to digital and online spend. So I have friends that just scrape all day long and crawl. Like I told you, my friend, the contact bot, he just scrapes all Groupon and Living Social, crawls their website, finds their contact information, their social, and then he messages them on their website for exposure. And then if not, then he'll just walk in or call. Like, he uses this as a data playground. There's some APIs that are out there that exist. I think you just have to go and search, just type in Groupon API, and somebody probably crawled it. So, forgot to mention too, if you type in like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, scrape, or crawl, somebody's already done it. So if you really want to like utilize that data somehow, the beauty about that is sometimes they is it Kickstarter or Indiegogo? Some people's profiles actually have their social links too, right? So
Indiegogo, I guess.
So Indiegogo, right? So then you already know what to do. You go find the scrape, or you scrape it yourself. Find all the Twitter handles. You either auto follow them or tweet at them, or like run ads to them. And if you can associate the data based on what they donated or like they help fund, then you got some very, very targeted people. So I didn't have that on the slide there, but that might be relevant for you guys. I don't know that, I don't have the list handy, but I've seen it so many times. You just type in Kickstarter, scrape, or whatever. The only thing is that it's gigabytes of data. So you have to build a really good like parser or like crawler to like make sense of that dump, that data dump. It's a big file, because Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they made it very hard to scrape, but you have to do multi-crawlers and you have to like, they have endless scroll, like they have a lot of security mechanisms and you just have to keep running it and like find dupes, remove that. More of the old school growth hacks, building relationships with people. It's mind-blowing. What I mean by that, for example, let's say for my growth lead, right? Why should I go build my own audience when other people have built audiences that are my target demographic? These people might not be they might be competitors, or they're just people that are not even directly related to my business, but they still have my same audiences. So then I sat down and identified, if I'm trying to target startups, entrepreneurs, business owners, who are talking to those people right now? Law firms, you have startup law firms, Cooley, blah, blah, blah. Deal with business owners all day long. Okay, so that's one person to go with. Accountings, temporary CFOs, that's a good place. Agencies, development, design, or even competing agencies, they need bandwidth, help. Commercial real estate, easy. When people get huge seed funding, they know they're the ones that are going to help people get into like Silicon Beach, whatever. Make relationships with them. Event organizers, why not? They're always constantly holding an event. They're the center of attention. They're an influence magnet. Figure out a relationship with them, because they're going to have deal flow come through them all day long. And the thing about that is that you're an entrepreneur, you don't have time to go to every single event. A conference, there's so many, right? But if you build a strong relationship with the event organizer, where you give them a kickback or deal based on relationships, and you work that type of affiliate relationships, it can go a long, long way. Without you doing any growth too. You have feet on the ground, right? That's the idea. Another one's just related businesses or publications or magazines. Find people that are just covering your topic, whether it be journalists or just like Facebook pages or like informal on Instagram pages. Like, network with the actual owners of people running those publications or related pages. One other one is just whenever I go out to a lot of events and I start seeing regulars there, and I'm like, okay, you're an event person. You're always in the forefront. Okay, well, if you give me a referral at the event, or like, because you want more feet at the ground at the event, or you constantly go in events because I don't have the time, I'll give you like 20% of the first month of the retainer or whatever. You know, there's different deals, but I always make sure that I make a reasonable deal, and I pay them like fast and upfront, because what you want, you essentially evangelists to do now is to work for you without working for you. And if they don't have that, you're like casually ask, oh, can you promo my company and you give me some deal flow? No, like I would create an Excel sheet and a document, keep a list of people that could be your influencers or like people that can help. And then, I mean, there should be a SaaS platform for this, but there isn't yet. But something that just maintains those relationships and just reminds you to constantly just, hey, do you have a deal this week? Hey, do you have a deal this month? Anything new? They're you know they're going to constantly get new foot traffic, but they're not constantly thinking of you. So, outreach, I should go build that. It's like I do it manually right now. Like I just have a document, and then I just like try to remember to follow up. You know, you could use a CRM for it, but still not like the best way to maintain those relationships. So, my whole point here is this is not even like online, but this is technically kind of in a sense growth hacking. Growth hacking, leveraging other people's networks, figuring out what kind of relationships you could build with them. And sometimes, you know, it could be value trade, where it could be directly related to your business, or it might not be directly related to your business. And sometimes it just pulls on you or your team's skill sets. Let's say you're a good 3D modeler, you know that this company needs help with that, barter that for free, give you publication, I don't know, or you have a friend that can do it for them, then you're just like finding different levers. And I've done it so many times that I barely get any leads. Like most of like growth leads, customers doesn't come from the online. Like I haven't spent money on ads yet. I haven't even done like online growth hacking for my own agency yet, just because I've been getting so much deal flow on the ground. And that's been the best for me because it's warm leads and it's from recommended, it was a referral like from somebody. And getting that type of, even digital, right? Getting somebody else to talk about you and referring, that's been super, super strong. And I don't have that much salespeople on my team. And I'm only paying on performance on these influencers and these network partner relationships, and it's constant. And it's just getting more foot on the ground. And now I built my own kind of growth engine that's referral, right? So that's just want to give you an idea indirectly on how you can find different levers of growth. So yeah, let's go through the tools. Let's go through every single tool out there, right? This was what I was talking about earlier. This is the 2015 map, okay? This is assuming that the startup even made it. There's new startups, living, dying. Some just are undiscovered. Good luck, good luck finding all the different tools. Again, this is my steps. Identify the platform that you want to grow. Identify the actions. Find the tools that you want to, then you go find and research the tools, then compare, right? Let's say you go find an Instagram scheduling tool. There's like 10 of them. So then find out try them all out if there's a trial. If some have to be paid, you decide if you want to pay it to try it out or not, and find out what works best for your own flow, then go from there. Or, there's a website that you can find comparisons. I'll list that out. But here's just an example. Instagram, you identify you want to do Instagram growth. What is it you want to do? Scheduling posts. Then boom, you have a tool called Schedugram that you can go and find out. But guess what? There's no one until only Pult, and there's no one called Later, and then there's more I can list for you. I personally use Schedugram because the thing is, Instagram API is not opened, and so you could attack the private API if you want to, which only Pult is from Russia and they're doing. But Schedugram is not. They're doing it the very clean way of doing it. What they're doing is they have a lot of Android simulator tablets that will log in for you and then post. Like it's just a automated action on top of it, so it's not hitting the private API. And they're doing it very slowly, and they're just posting on your behalf on their server, so which I think is cool. So this is like the most clean posting tool. Oh yeah, so this tool is called G2 Crowd. You type in email marketing, it shows you all the top email marketing tools. It's like Yelp of tools. There's a lot of these other ones out there. This is just the one I personally use. if you want to be a really informed shopper, obviously you use as much comparison sites as possible because you want to see different opinions. But it shows you the reviews. People like tell what the position is, then they pros and cons, and then stars. And then what's cool is is that let's say you found a tool that you think is great, you type it in there, it'll show you other tools you may not have think of that is similar, right? So that's how you do like smart, informed, decisions on your purchases. You can get caught up, but like you want to get the best tool, so you should spend some time really finding out what works best for your platform. Great automation tool, Zapier. Zapier allows you to connect apps that would not talk to each other otherwise. They built kind of their own API, and most people will integrate with Zapier, so then Zapier will handle the talking to each other of apps. It's paid, but I think they have a freemium model to help you kind of scale and grow. And so from there, you really can utilize Zapier to connect apps that wouldn't have talked to each other. I use it every single day to automate actions. And so let's say somebody tweets something out, then it can push it to Facebook, for example. Or like if somebody signs up on my email, I'll make sure that I push into my CRM, etc. So like you can do multi-chain like actions too. So like it's just a whole recipe, drag and drop, super easy. Now this is a little bit more advanced than MailChimp. I said MailChimp is good for email newsletters. This could be applicable to you guys if you want to create a automated email drip system. You could do that with MailChimp. The only difference in MailChimp is it's very linear in a sense that it's just email number 1, send, email number 2, send, email number 3, after wait 3 days, send, right? But what Autopilot allows you to do is to create multiple paths now. So if somebody said, you send a welcome email, it's a nice drag and drop like flow tool, right? So you send your initial email out, and if somebody clicks but doesn't convert, you send them a different email. If somebody doesn't open the email, and then you send them another follow-up, right? And so like you can create multiple journeys. You can make it as complex as you want to, or simple. It is it's ideal for sales. What I mean by sales is you're just trying to, if somebody signs up to your funnel and you want to hit them with automated emails and really get them to try to convert, this works very great. But what Autopilot doesn't do well is your newsletter blasts. Like it kind of sucks. I don't know if they're probably going to fix it in like another year or so, but to create an email newsletter blast, you could use Autopilot, but you have to create a journey just for a blast, which makes no sense, right? Whereas like MailChimp, you just click new compose email blast, right? And so if you are going to use Autopilot, then you should use Zapier in the sense that what I mean by that is if somebody signs on your landing page, then use Zapier to push that email to both lists. So you're list building both. And so then you're collecting that one email, Justin Wu at Growthly, and then Zapier will take that email and push it to Autopilot and MailChimp, and now you're building up, and so you have that customer on both lists, and then when they first come through, they're gonna hit the automated drip email, and then now you have them on the newsletter MailChimp later on whenever you wanna blast them out in a newsletter. If that makes sense. So that's where that's when you like start daisy chaining Zapier to like Autopilot, and again, this just goes to show that tools by itself won't fulfill every use case per se. There are platforms out there that will have both, but you just have to go and take a look at research and see what works the best. If you really want a drip system that also has newsletter, it's called Active Campaign or Get Drip. So that's something you want to take a look at. The only thing is that nothing does it better in terms of like visually than Autopilot. They got like 8 million in funding from Salesforce directly. So like they're killer. This tool I love so much. It's called SumoMe. It's a suite of tools. The JavaScript code you add to the top of your header or your website. It has just a mixed bag of tools. It has heat maps, You can track people go through your website. So it's great to see where people are going, where they're clicking and converting. Are they even looking at, there's a cursor even like highlighting this button? You'll be able to find that out. And it does other things like an email capture where if somebody is about to leave your website, it'll detect their cursor right on the very top of the header and it'll hit them with a pop-up. Now, you might say that's invasive or like too spammy in a sense, but I would argue that that person is about to leave anyways, and you spent so much energy trying to acquire them. That's one last consideration. You can't really hurt their feelings.
We are using this tool and
I've seen anywhere from 4 to 8% extra conversion from the traffic. Like,
even the heat maps have helped us actually rearrange the page.
That's perfect.
Yeah, because we could see where people are clicking and where they're actually spending more time on that.
So that's awesome. So he uses SumoMe, and so I think it's like a flat rate cost. I think it's like $50 now. They increase the price, but now you get access to the full suite. Before it used to be cost per tool, a la carte, but now it's like $50 per month. But you have a suite of tools, and it's not just the pop-up too. There's like a bar too. They call that like a newsletter or like hello bar type of style. Like I personally do both. I put a bar and the pop-up, because the bar, the pop-up doesn't show until somebody leaves, right? But the bar is like if they're scrolling and say, hey, join our newsletter, right? It can pop up if somebody scrolls, it's like 20 or 30% of the screen. Like you can do different settings.
There's a welcome mat as well.
There's a welcome mat, and so what a welcome mat is you've seen this a lot on like Forbes and like the next web, where you land on the website, you see the article for a split second, and then a big page just takes over. Even though it's aggressive, I would try the numbers out, right? Like it just comes down to data. Like see what happens. Some things perform better than others. You never know until you try it out. You just pump traffic and see what converts. So that's for conversion optimization, to really like maximize and ramp up. Landing page tool, this one's called Instapage. I talked about it earlier. There's a lot of other ones tool out there, but what I really love about Instapage is that it is a drag and drop WYSIWYG, what you see, what you get landing page tool. So nothing complicated at all. If you want that text to be big, just double click it, make it big. You want to drag it all around the screen, you can. You want to create new sections, just click a new section, boom, easy. It's not the cheapest tool, but I can tell you like it's very powerful. Other tools that you could just hard code landing pages or buy like landing page templates, or you can use like Wix or like other places, but you usually want to have like a page that you have full control with, so that you can kind of change the layout and really they even do split testing, A/B testing too. So you can create multiple landing pages, and then they also have mobile view too, where you can like mobile is becoming so important.
Is that the mobile view input, like if you create?
You can change it too. Yeah, but they'll let you preview the mobile view too. So that's a powerful thing about it. Which again, like I don't see like the other tools are playing catch up now. These guys have been on it, like split testing mobile view and like mobile view split testing too. Like it's been, and they integrate with Autopilot. They integrate with Mailchimp, Zapier. Like it does so much integration. This tool is called QAT. QAT is still like in the private beta, but you can message the dude. If not, you can tell me. I can hook you up with the owner. QAT, what it is when somebody signs up, as you see on your, so imagine you have a sign up on your website. Sign up for our wait list, pre-order or pre-Kickstarter. No, I'm not asking. I was just saying, if you have do you have that on your site, which everybody's going to have, right? But guess what? You sign up, cool. You collect an email. That's great. But what you really want to do is get them to refer and get more people to come in. And the way you do that, QAT is a gamification waiting list. And so when somebody signs up on the email, you're not telling them that they're going to win a prize or anything yet, right? But then now they're brought into a game where you see there's like a positioning waiting list, And then on the right side, it's kind of like Kickstarter in itself, where rank number one, the number one person will get some sort of prize, maybe a free unit, right? And then the top 5 will get like a sticker or like a t-shirt or something. But the goal is to have people share, post, tweet, comment, and then if they do it, you get extra traffic, extra signups potentially. I've seen lists grow 20 to 40% extra based on the signups they input. And so if you're spending so much money on ads and acquisition, PR, product hunt, boom, and you get 1,000 emails, do you want 1,000 emails? You want 1,400 or 1,500. And then the more emails you get, the idea is that it potentially can exponentially grow because you're just now building a mass. Maybe the people that referred might refer somebody else. And so there's like a virality factor to it. QAT does it. There's another app out there like called Maitre app. It's M-A-I-T-R-E app, M-A-I-T-R-E app.com. Same exact thing. And they charge you per campaign. And these guys, I'm not sure, I think they're more SaaS. QAt's more SaaS. So like monthly you can run a certain amount of campaigns, whereas I think Maitre app is really good for the Kickstarters. But I would say that QAt is superior in the gamification sense. Like they will actually email out like these people to remind them to keep participating. So I think that's pretty cool in terms of like hitting the gas pedal for referrals. Then like PR, there's a lot of different tools out there. There's buzzsumo.com. Buzzsumo.com will let you find influencers and writers. Pretty cool. Another one's called Go PR It. Same thing. You can find journalists, and they also created like an email drip reach out so that if you click the journalist, you can go out reach out to them. Startup Lister is just they'll just like list you on a lot of startup like product hunt, beta list, angel list type of sites. It's like $80, I think, a blast, or maybe a price increase. But the idea is that it gets you SEO, and some of those lists have more emails too. Then obviously beta list. If you're still in beta, then just signing up or paying for it, you get blasted out to a lot of people who love beta product. Another tool that I didn't list out here is called Just Reach Out. So Just Reach Out. Just Reach Out is a PR tool where, again, they list out and categorize journalists, and they'll give you email templates and messages to go out and do outreach with them. But again, you can use audience to also find journalists too. So then if we start combining all these different tools and stacks, now we're getting a little bit more things that we should still consider. We have the landing page. I put analytics on there, Google Analytics, because sometimes you forget to add it on. You'd be surprised. There's many of my startups and people I deal with, they pump traffic and they don't have analytics in place. It just takes one time to drop the code in, lets you track your traffic. SumoMe for the conversion optimization tool. Email capture, MailChimp. Email automation, MailChimp or Autopilot. Zapier is obviously going to glue that together. And then retargeted ads with Facebook, Google. Each platform has its own pixel for Facebook. So Facebook obviously is the easy way to start, but there's AdWords, there's Twitter, and then now there's Pinterest. So that opens up more playing fields. If you have a heavy women audience or mom because it's literally like if you look at Pinterest demo, it's 80% women and like 85% mobile too traffic. So it's interesting. And then the purchasing power behavior is so huge on Pinterest. But again, like if you want to cookie and show ads, you have to have that pixel there for that platform. You can't backdate your pixels too because you didn't cookie that person. So you can't go back and say I want to pixel all my 1,000 users that came in from my product hunt list. Well, you can't do that. You can only do that when they land on the page. So get this immediately now. Even if you're going to do nothing with it, it's crucial right now. If you really, really want to be crafty, you guys can share each other's pixels. What I mean by that is use that targeting. Like if you can help each other out, like because you're not all you're doing is showing an ad, right? And so you can utilize each other's pixels or somebody else that you know that runs a similar company or publication. I've seen people done pixels and run pixels on the behalf of like celebrities and all that stuff too. You're just leveraging somebody's data network, and you're not collecting personal identified data. All you're doing is buying that pixel so that you can exposure that will most likely convert for your page. So that's like another like growth hack. There's like private markets, people just selling pixels because it's cheaper, man. Like if you know that like that pixel is an entrepreneur, and you run an entrepreneur website, then yeah, you should sell that to somebody because it's so good traffic. It's so, you know, and then once that traffic comes in, they get another pixel again. This is a never-ending process. Yeah, just landing pages, Instapage. A cool thing that I did on here that's a little bit different is I have the main conversion. This is schedule a call, right? But then I know that not everybody wants to convert for an agency level type of work, right? So then I add one more button that says, no thanks, but I'd like to join a newsletter. So then now it's just like, it's casual. It's like, okay, I can't convert you today, but maybe I can have you consider, or I can win through content marketing, email marketing. Maybe you don't care about consultating now, or maybe you never were my target demo, right? But if my content can impress you, then maybe you'll tell somebody else in the future, right? And so I'm building up my list. I'm not afraid to collect people that are not exactly my exact target demo. Obviously, I prefer my target demo, but I know that if they're going to sign up, they're going to sign up for something related. And then from there, I'm hoping that I can do a good job to then run my email newsletters and email news lists on them. Great resource, growthhackers.com. There's a great community. A lot of places people talk about growth hacking. Growth tools. They literally list out all these different tools for like email affiliate, conversion optimization, landing pages, etc. And yeah, that's it in terms of like listing tools. I can go on and on about listing tools, but yeah, I'm just opening up more to like Q&A now, and like any questions you might have in terms of tools or like platforms that I can go through if you have any.